Hey, it's Will Ripley here with JamPlay.com. Welcome to the first official lesson of this series, and we're going to be getting right into it. Not going to be wasting anyone's time here. I want to tell you about finding a key of a song. Okay, you know, you might hear other musicians or whatever saying like it's in the key of A, it's in the key of B flat. Like, what does that actually mean, right? And the truth is that there's actually a lot of different ways of looking at the same thing. Now, this series, I've tried to tailor and morph into more like blues and classic rock and like a little bit of pop in here as well. But like basically all the popular music styles, like and guitar-based music, of course, in the last 50 or 60 years. And that's what this music theory is tailored towards. So in this lesson, we're going to be talking about finding a key of a song, but mostly in a blues and rock context. Now, which means that it's going to be in a minor key, more likely. There's certainly a lot of rock songs in major, but there's a lot of crossover between them as well, and we'll be getting into all this kind of stuff. Now, to find a key of a song, I would definitely recommend playing a lot of blues. Okay, and in some pretty straightforward classic rock, and you can use this technique for that. But generally, like to get a hold of kind of developing your ear and getting new chords and new things under your fingers, definitely blues and classic rock will really lend themselves to be a nice, easy doorway to kind of enter down the hallway of all this complex musical theory and stuff like that. So. What I want to show you is the lick. So basically, it's just a basic lick that goes like this. Okay, so I'm on my D string, and that's the big key here. And so all I'm doing is I'm just sliding my third finger from in this case, the 3rd fret to the 5th fret, and I'm just adding a little vibrato on this. And so just in case these techniques like slides or bends or vibrato or any of this kind of stuff is maybe already beyond you, make sure to check out my series that you can find right here on JamPlay called Classic Rock Guitar. Now, why we're doing this lick is because in a minute I'm going to put on some jam tracks and we're going to find the key of those songs. But now what this does is it just will associate the lick with the song and let us know, does it sound right or not? Okay, and so basically, all you're going to do is you just slide around. And you can just slide that lick around while a song is playing. And you can, and then that will help you establish which note just kind of sounds right. And then if it does, then you can actually just play a lick like some just like standard blues licks, because what I'm doing here is we're trying to figure out what pentatonic box that we can be based in. Now, so this is actually our root note. So if we go down to our low string here, you can hear that those are actually the same note, but they're different octaves. So what that means is that once we find the right note, then we can go down to our low octave, and then we've got our entire pentatonic scale to work with. So let's go ahead and put on some jam tracks and put this concept to work. Okay, so we've got a basic rock riff going on in the background. And what we're gonna do is slide that lick around until we find that note where the light bulb goes off in our head, okay? Okay, so you can hear that those are basically like kind of wrong notes. Like nothing's really sound like super musical quite yet. Now check out this. Okay, so this is the note that we want right there. Now I'll just go ahead and double check. I'll start playing my pentatonic scale or some basic blues licks. And that's when the light bulb goes off. It's like, that sounds right. Because check it out. I'll try just grab it somewhere else. All right, it's like, just doesn't sound Like you can tell that that's out of key, right? But up here on the 12th fret, all right, so here's another example. So we got kind of a basic funk track going on. Now the big thing here is we can hear that there's two chords going, boom, 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 dum, dum. So here's the first one. And then it goes back to the first one. Okay, so that's what we got going on in this track. Now again, we'll just apply this lick concept. Here, that's not really a right note, is it? Now these might sound like cool notes, like that note sounds cool. That's probably a note that I'd play if I were soloing over this. But we're looking for that note that's like, there's the root note, right? We're looking for that light bulb kind of. Okay. Now the note that we are looking for is this sound. And I'll just go ahead and play a couple licks. Okay, and that's when it's like, that's right, because if I were to play that here, there's like, that's out of key. You could just tell that it's like those two parts just don't go together. So there's certain notes that can actually kind of trick you, but you'll get used to hearing this sound. And you should be able to play your entire minor pentatonic scale and get that kind of blues and rock sound. Right, so now a note that might confuse us, for example, would be this note. And that's normal that those notes would kind of confuse a person because they are actually out of your minor pentatonic scale down here. But that's the big thing that I want to share with you in this lesson is using the lick, just using that D string and just trying to slide that thing around until you find it's just like, oh, I'm going to try that one. And then you try a couple of extra notes out of the pentatonic scale. And it could just be like 1 fret low, or sorry, 2 frets lower, but just right out of that minor pentatonic scale. And then you can just go ahead and try out the whole minor pentatonic scale. And you're just looking for that classic kind of blues sound, which I demonstrated for you here in these two examples. So maybe just go back and have a listen to when the notes, when we were in key and when we weren't. And so you can just hear for yourself, like, oh, that sounds connected. Like those notes sound right over top of that song or that riff or that chord progression. And so what we're finding here is the key center. Okay, so we're not too worried about the song being major or minor right now, because if you remember at the start of the lesson, I said that there's actually kind of a gray zone between major and minor, especially in blues and classic rock, which we'll cover in later lessons. But right now we're just trying to find the key center. So in this example, we found that this note seemed to sit right and we could play those blues licks. So what that means is that if we drop it down to our lower octave, this note is A, right? And I'll show you actually in the next lesson how you can quickly find all the notes all over your fretboard, and I really look forward to that lesson. But this one, so we've got an A. So what that means is that our key center is A, and generally it's going to be A minor because we are playing a minor pentatonic scale, so that would only make sense. But yeah, so that's the key center. And then if you remember on the first example, we found that this shape up here on the 14th fret sounded really, really good, and we were able to play some of those blues licks. So what that means is that if we drop it down an octave, then we've got our E note in the bass. Therefore, it's going to be, the key center is going to be E. So like that song is really in the key of E, okay? And more than likely really an E minor because of the minor pentatonic scale that we're applying to it and it's sounding like it's fitting. So this is a quick crash course on how you can start finding the keys of songs. And certainly with blues and classic rock, I find that this application works the best. But certainly this can help you with other styles of music too, and just finding those bass notes. So say if you're trying to find out what chords a person is going to, you can always just find those notes and then drop down the octave for this, for example. So if you're like, that note sounds right against this particular chord, well, that's a G, so you can try playing a G chord. Okay, so I found that this technique has helped myself and a load of my students find the keys of songs. And so just go ahead and start putting on songs and see if you can put this to work for yourself. So hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'll catch you in the next one where we'll talk about unlocking the fretboard. Catch you then.